Recording is on.
Here we go.
Whoa.
Official.
All right.
Wow.
Okay, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our virtual discussion of author Britta Jo's That One Green Tile. We have the author Britta here, as well as Olympian local Courtney Kelley. As a reminder, you can purchase this book through orcabooks.com, and I have left a link for purchase in the chat on the left of the screen. We will also have some copies in store in the next week or so. Britta Johanna is a children's book author and illustrator, yet she certainly does not limit herself to those titles. She prefers to extend her reach in many areas of the creative world. Born in Olympia, Washington, on the west coast of the United States, Britta began writing children's books during her first year of teaching after attending a soul-capturing children's literature class at university. The stories that she writes deliver a delightful rhyming cadence complemented with her ethereal handcrafted paper collages of stunning colors and textures to depict scenes that emote a sense of wonder. She possesses degrees in art as well as education and holds a master's degree in museums and galleries. She served as the children's educator for more than 10 years and also exhibited her art on the west and east coasts of the United States. More than anything, she just likes to play. Britta spends her time between Seattle, Washington, and Montreal, Quebec. Courtney Kelley is a photographer, yoga teacher, novice potter, and seeker of love and beauty. She infuses her work with grace and presence, approaching every creative experience as an opportunity for the mind and body to connect. Courtney holds space for people to dive into how they are feeling, not only on a physical level, but how they are emotionally and ultimately spiritually. Rooted in a deep belief that all things are connected, she mindfully approaches her work in a way that allows a deeper, nourishing tenderness to unfold. So we will start with a discussion between Britta and Courtney about the book, and then Britta will read us an excerpt. And when she does that, I personally advise to press the tile view button at the bottom of your screen to see her full screen, and that's on the lower right. It's 4 boxes together. After that, we'll be doing an audience Q&A. We plan to record the event, so if you don't want to appear on video, please keep your cameras disabled. You can do this at the bottom of your screen. Also make sure to enter your name. Please keep your mics muted most of the time. When it is time for questions, you can raise your hand on the lower left, and we'll call on you to unmute yourself and ask Britta your questions. All right, so that was a lot. Britta, Courtney, I give the floor to you.
Thank you so much. Well, after that introduction, I don't think I really have to say anything now.
Just buy the book. First of all, it's so fun to see you. I miss you, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It means a lot coming from you, Courtney. I appreciate that.
I love it. I popped down to Orca today, which looks gorgeous. It's so organized, and I encourage everyone to go check it out. It's really fun to be greeted by the kitty too, Orlando. So jumping in, and I'm sure questions are going to pop up, and hopefully I'll cover questions that people are interested in. Otherwise, I'm sure that there'll be little hands flying up towards the end. But Britta, what inspired you to write this book?
So That One Green Tile was inspired by something my mom actually told me when I was young. She said, somewhere out in the world, someone looks exactly like you. And this curiosity stayed with me all of these years. Although she doesn't remember saying that to me, so I thought maybe it just appeared in a dream or something. In any case, it stayed with me, and I thought, oh, that wonderment just really lingered. So here I am.
I adore the book. Now, you wrote it a while ago. I mean, it's been simmering in your consciousness for a long time. What was the impetus now? Why now?
So I wrote the story along with about 6 other stories 20 years ago. I had just started teaching. I had this young family, was married with my girls were young at the time, so we were always buying children's books. And so Jonah had mentioned that I took that course at university that just really kind of reignited my love in children's books. And I was able to then share that with my daughters. But publishing 20 years ago was a very different industry.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that it just wasn't the right time for me back then. even as an artist, I've grown so much over the last 20 years, and I've changed so much. And so I made sure that I went to conferences, the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators throughout the years. I took art classes throughout the years. I taught art and really grew a lot as an artist during that time as well. So I think this was all just meant to unfold this way. And moving here to Montreal, Quebec was just really exciting, and it gave me a chance to look at this city with fresh eyes. And I came here leaving Olympia, Washington, just sold everything off. Both my daughters live in Canada, so I knew I wanted to be here, but Montreal really drew me with its culture and language and architecture, and the vibe is just amazing. So I studied French when I moved here, and when my program ended June of 2019, I had a time to travel, and I came back. I said, okay, now I need to look for some work. So I had all of this time on my hands compared to when I was studying. So I thought, how can I best use this time while I'm looking for work? And that just came to me. I thought, this is it. I'm going to take this story. I didn't change a great deal. The editor gave me some suggestions, but really the manuscript, the text itself didn't change a lot. But I was able to just start in on my collages. It is something that I've done since about 2009. I took a watercolor course in Olympia, and the instructor showed us how to create colors and textures and then tear the paper and glue it down in a composition. And so I started, showed some of my work in your studio, Courtney, and did some commissioned work as well. But for children's books, I thought that it would lend itself much better to use an X-Acto knife to get cleaner lines. And I'm really happy with how it unfolded. But honestly, when I first started, I basically, if I can show you, started with a mock book, and just, I write out my story and all my text, and I just scribble images, and just so I can kind of get the feel. And I use couplets, so there's a rhyming cadence to it. So I just wanted to get a feel of what it's like to turn the page and throw out some ideas for the images. But the first few pages were really slow. And like I'd mentioned, I'd done a little bit of research, but at the same time, I didn't want to do too much research because I didn't want to restrict myself. I wanted to go organically and experiment and explore and learn. And that's exactly how it is. After page 4, in the story, it talks about playing with marbles in the sand in Sweden and all of this. It's basically the girl is wondering about the other girl who looks exactly like her. So it's an imaginary journey around the world. So I needed some reference material. So then I started looking at images online and sketching out my scenes and looking at different perspectives and really studying different postures, the profile compared to 3/4, and it got really technical. And it's almost as though this story is an artistic journal of my skills, because I started really simplistic and then I became more and more sophisticated. But there were times when I pulled back with that as well, because I wanted it to be simple. I wanted it to be clean, and I wanted it to just lend itself that simple elegance to the story itself. So it took me about 4 or 5 months to create all of the artwork, and then I had a photographer come and shoot it digitally. And then I learned to edit on a tablet and submitted everything. And then it's just a process of making a lot of decisions with a publishing company. So it's a long process, but it was something that I I started to do for my daughters. I thought, what a great gift to give to them, but it became a really selfish endeavor because I enjoyed it so much. And so now I'm almost finished with my second children's book.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Oh, so who are some of your favorite authors, and what's your illustrators and inspiration? I mean, you have such a unique medium with the way that you've illustrated this book.
Right, right. I mean, I grew up with Dr. Seuss and the Golden Books. I don't remember having a lot of children's books around when I was little, I'll be honest. It was really when I had children that I just became so excited about reading to them every night. They got to choose a book, but Eric Carle, my artwork is very similar to his in that it's cut, he uses textures, and I wasn't really thinking of him when I was doing my artwork. My main influence for my collages is Gustav Klimt. Because I love him with his influence of metallic gold. He used a lot of gold leaf in his work. But I also if I have any former art students out there, you're going to hear all of this again. But we did a project when I was teaching art. But I love how Gustav Klimt had these figures just in a cocoon together, and the clothing was just so flowing. But in a lot of his works, the detail on the faces and the hands and feet were very, very sophisticated. So that's kind of what I was thinking about when I was going through all of my collages. Jan Brett, The Hat.
Yeah.
And I have so many of her books. She's an amazing illustrator. And I don't know that I'm influenced by her, but I have a great appreciation for her. Tony DePaula, who we lost, I think it was earlier this year. He was influential in the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. It hadn't included illustrators prior to his influence. So love his work. My daughters love this book so much as well. Kind of more contemporary. This illustration reminds me so much of my torn paper collage because of the white edges that I would leave. These illustrators are Leo and Diane Dillon. I'm not very familiar with them, but this is a style that I really like. I went to a conference where this illustrator, Dan Santat, gave many lectures and workshops. I took one of his workshops, and he looked at some of my work that I had brought to show him, my torn paper collage. He said, you know, you can do all of this on Photoshop. That's what he does. And I'm so old school because I love mixing colors and creating textures and cutting and gluing, and I love that tactile experience. But I have to say, I took a character design course this summer through Sin Studio. It's an art school here in Montreal. Amazing, amazing instructor. And I knew I was in way over my head when I signed up. But I just wanted to grow in some way. But there were about 20 students. They were animators and graphic designers and everything. But I learned so much during that time. So what I want to start doing is creating my layout dummies digitally. So then I can print that out and then go with my torn paper collage. So it's a process. It does take me probably 10 times longer than it would if I did it on Photoshop. But I have to trace my drawing with this tracing paper. I use transfer paper to put the image on my painted paper, and this is what a finished artwork looks like. And it prints very differently, but it is still something I think that has a little bit of that three-dimensional effect in the book. Because I've shown my book to friends, and they'll touch the page because it's as though they seem like something can lift up. And so I go, yes, you got it. That's exactly what I was trying to translate. through my artwork. So it's I'm very happy.
It's beautiful, and there is such a sense of movement with the illustration pieces.
Yeah, it's really strange, Courtney, because that was something that I thought about in each page, was to have something flowing to the right.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to lead the reader's eyes to the next page.
Mm-hmm.
So in this book, you will see hair flowing that way, or a dress flowing, or a ribbon or something. And then I was in the Summer Spectacular Conference for the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, and they were talking about that as a consultation from these illustrators. They said, make sure that your reader flows to the right to continue on with that movement. And so I was really happy that I picked up on that artistically before I even had officially learned it. So it was just something that was intuitive.
I love it. Yeah, that's how we read. We read left to right, we move.
Yeah.
Look at a photograph. Oftentimes we look at it as a C. So your eye will move from top to bottom and sweep off to the right.
Interesting to know. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So tell me, ideas for your book. So this one came from your mom, and you mentioned that you have another book in the works. How do you get the ideas for your books, and what's the next one?
Yeah, it is ideas. It's from my childhood, it's from my curiosities, it's from life, it's challenges, it's my celebrations. I think as though I am a child again when I'm doing these things, but here's the difference, is that I have so much experience under my belt now, and so I'm looking at the world as a child with my wisdom at the same time. The current book that I'm working on is about dreams, and it's one that I wrote many years ago as well, but I've changed it considerably, because since I moved here in Montreal, so 2.5, 3 years, I've just really been a follower of the law of attraction. I have read on neuroscience, neuroplasticity, mindfulness. And so I'm really curious about how our thoughts can influence our reality. So this story is about a boy who's thinking about dreams and how sometimes they can be really scary, and sometimes they're really fun, and sometimes they're kind of bizarre. But what would happen if I think good thoughts before I go to sleep? And what about the dreams that we have in our lives that are more like big desires that we have? What if I think good thoughts? Can I manifest these desires that I have, these goals, these dreams, into my reality? And so that's what this book is about. And it's been fun creating the images, because it's in the likeness of my grandson Asher, but he's and so I've had to make him look much older. But it's going really well. I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through.
Awesome. Congrats on that.
Thank you. It follows the same rhyming couplets, so it has that cadence. I am using my gold metallic paint as a theme throughout. I'm a little bit more sophisticated with the facial expressions in this new book, just because I'm experimenting and I'm seeing kind of what I can do and the fun that I can have exploring that. So yeah.
Love it. So tell me a little bit more about rhyming. You talked about, the one green tile is has a rhyming cadence, and so this next book does as well. And what's your draw with that?
I love the sound of it. And it probably comes from when I was a child. I loved reading books that rhymed. And being a former educator as well, I know the value of rhyming and being an emerging reader and that last word, and that sound should be similar to that previous ending. And so I love the comparison. I find a great comparison between writing and music and art. There is that rhythm, there's that melody. And when you're writing rhymes, I understand that some people have a very difficult time with it. I have so much fun, but you really have to pay attention to the amount of syllables. And I have made a couple of attempts to translate this into French. I've hired a couple of editors. It's been a struggle because of the French language. Typically you use more words. So my lines become really long and it's like you can't take a breath and the rhythm is so off. And then keeping the French wording with the images, but then having to rhyme different words in a different language. It's just, it was a great idea and I hope I do it one day, but right now I just kind of have to, I think, master the French language first before I attempt to do that. But I love playing with words, and that's really what it's about, playing with words and these colors and textures. And it is the creative process. It's really kind of how I roll.
I love it. I love it. So what must your audience know about this book? What's one thing that you really want to impress?
So it's so interesting that I wrote this 20 years ago, and I've shared it with a lot of people, editors and friends and so forth. And the feedback I get is so interesting to me because they're pulling out things that I really had not even seen. But it was an editor who said, it is so amazing how relevant this book is to what's happening in the world today. Yeah. A lot of the social issues that are going on. And there is a theme about unity, although I think the overarching theme is self-identity. And so I feel that because we're looking, hey, there's a part in it that I'm actually going to read, that we all exist under this great big sky. So there's that unity there. But there's only one of me. And so that self-identity. So I think it's something that I guess that I want my readers to know is that it's something that's really timeless and very relevant for the world today.
Did you just write an instant classic?
Only time will tell, Courtney. Only time will tell.
It's a very sweet story and it's beautiful. And are you going to read a little bit? Are we at that point right now that maybe you wanted to share a little bit, or?
I would love to do that. But you just reminded me of something. I've been an artist all my life, but it wasn't until I was in my late 30s that I started showing my work. I think the first show I did was at your studio.
Really?
It was so hard to do. You're really exposing your soul to the world and opening yourself up for criticism. And I think that was the hardest thing for me. And when I was creating this book, I was talking to myself saying, Britta, you're going to get some criticism and not everybody's going to love this book. And you're going to have to just remember how much you loved the process, that it was for you, that you really don't have to impress anybody else, that this was just such a phenomenal process, this point in my life. And that's what I always go back to. That's what I go back to. So
I think that's an important thing to remember for all of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am happy to say, though, the official reviews that I've received so far have been really excellent, and it definitely is a boost for me. It feels good. So I'm going to go just smack in the middle of this book and just give you a few pages so you can get an idea of what the images look like and the sound as well from the words. We'll see how this works. It'll be like a good old-fashioned read aloud. I think each night she wishes upon a star, or finds pictures in billowy clouds from afar. Just imagine what all this could be. She sees the same brilliant moon that I see. We both exist under this great big sky, and I will always wonder as time goes by, whether in China, France, or some other place, who this person is who shares my face. And that's all I'm going to give you, because the last page is the punchline, and it deserves just kind of a little bit of mystery.
Love it. Oh, Britta. It's a very sweet story.
Thank you very much, Courtney. I appreciate that.
That was really awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for interviewing me, Courtney.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking me. I adore you. I'm proud of you.
I adore you as well. Thanks so much.
Okay, are we ready for some question and answers?
Yeah, of course. And
Okay.
I want to thank everybody else who have joined in the conversation. It's really, really adds so much value to have everybody here. So I appreciate you.
So as a reminder, please keep yourself muted until you are called on. In case your microphone or camera isn't working for some reason, there's the chat function lower left. And yeah, so if there are any questions, feel free to press that little hand button on the lower left as well. I'll press it once to show you guys.
And I might want to mention in the area of chat, I wrote my website. So if you're interested in checking out my online shop, I have products, for example, like this, of images from the children's book on different types of merchandise, and some resources for teachers as well. I have a lesson plan that goes along with the book, an activity sheet, and you can just learn more about me and my background. So
that pillow is so cool. I want to buy.
Well, I thought, I hadn't published yet, and I'm thinking I'd created all of these works of art. Why not take advantage of cross marketing so people who are on Fine Art America can learn that I'm a children's book illustrator, and they print on apparel. I have a yoga mat, a tote bag. You can get a shower curtain. I mean, it's just so fun. And I order these things and they arrive, and it is just so amazing to see my work on different things like that. It's really a great additional project to this book. So.
That's really neat. Let's see. I'm not seeing anybody raise their hands. You're also free to just undo your, what's it called? Your camera as well, if you want to do that. But don't worry if you don't want to, people. It's totally okay. Kelly C would like to speak. All right, Kelly C, take it away.
Oh, hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Kelly.
Oh, good. I don't have a question, Britta, but I just wanted to also say how proud I am of you. And I loved the little teaser. I love the rhyming cadence, and I can't wait to read the rest of it. So I'm super excited.
I appreciate that. That makes me feel so good. I'm glad that you kind of just brought that out, and I love that. I love that you're here with us, Kelly. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And Jonah, thanks so much for making this happen.
Yeah,
if you're in the Olympia area, go check out the new Orca location. Next time I'm there, I'll be sure to come and say hi.
Yay! We're at 315 Fifth Avenue, right next to Rainy Day Records. If you want to come on by and get a book, get 5 books, get as many books as you want.
That's great.
Okay, well, I'm not seeing any more questions, so last chance for people. Otherwise, we can wrap this up and we can go on with our weekends.
All right. Yeah. Happy Sunday, everybody. Tune in with me if you have any questions down the road. I'm on social media at Britta Jo Creative, and connect with me. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know what's going on in your lives, and let's stay connected.
I see that Kelly C wants to speak again. Kelly, do you want to take it away again?
That was actually a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of pressing buttons, but
see, now you're very savvy now with Jitsi.
Right.
You see, it's all about the learning experience.
That's right. I appreciate that as well.
Thanks so much, everybody. This was a blast.
Thank you for coming.
You, Johanna. Thank you, Britta.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.